Hey there, and welcome back to the Central Tower build. If you've been keeping up last time, I didn't actually have the support struts on the corners in place, but I have glued them in place since. And that is because I have cut out the mezzanine for the next floor up, so I've been able to align them properly. So it's beginning to take shape. I've also etched and done the plank work on this, so if I come in close, you can see I've etched and then just used a very rough grade light sandpaper just to apply a bit of texture. So this kind of office floor, people where posh people go, and also the lobby slash main way into the building, will have a nice wooden floor, whereas the ground floor will have the utilitarian Hicks floor. Now the reason I've done this as a mezzanine is so that you've got reaching factor. There's going to be 6 inch wide by 5 inch tall windows, I think, on this floor. So you'll then be able to reach in and then reach through the floor in order to be able to get at that ground floor, because again, I don't want this to be lifting on and off and faff factor. I mean, I could leave it right. I was half tempted to build it so that this mezzanine and everything above it would come off, but that kind of thing frustrates me, because then it's a whole load of extra space, extra tables and this kind of malarkey, and to be honest with you, it's a damn nuisance. So I'm not ready to start putting in floors yet, but as you can see, what I have cut out is the walls slash windows slash latch on points for lift, so that I can build the stairwell and lift shaft, because before I put in the floors of this top section, one of the things I really need to do is I just need to paint the interior of the ground floor and the interior of the stairwell and lift. It's because once I've assembled the building entirely, it would be a royal pain in the arse to actually paint them, as I've discovered in previous builds, especially stairwells, all the reaching in through windows, around corners, it takes forever. Also, you need direct spray if you're going to use spray paint, and also if you want to paint walls, etc., in order to be able to reach in and get under the walls and be able to see whilst you're doing it, it's just going to be easier if I do it beforehand. The only thing this is going to require is that I mask off all gluing points beforehand. So as you're going to see, not in this video but in the next video probably, that's going to be a nuisance. However, as you can see, this is going to be a pretty big building. I think it stands at 17.5 inches tall. So, you know, this is going to be pretty domineering. It'll overlook all of the others. It also works towards that whole elevation change, sniper position, just interesting building, creating interesting dynamics so that you can actually do more than just running around at ground level. I mean, it provides a whole load of other opportunities. I mean, even if you're going up to sort of third story like you are with a normal sort of stacking block system that's used in Infinity, it doesn't really feel like a city, and you can't use interiors, and being able to use interiors, look out of windows, run through buildings, hide out a couple of stories up maybe, or use super jump to jump up on top of a smaller building, leap from the top of a smaller building up onto a higher building, or vice versa. I think it creates a whole load more interest for the game. So I don't know whether you can see this clearly, but these are the 3 pieces, all cut out, ready to be assembled, pre-etched, because don't ever etch on an assembled building, it's just a nightmare. Also, these doors are the doors for the lifts. Now, I've pre-etched them, and they also are just push fit and remove. So as you can see, I've made these with 2 pieces running down the exterior. I etched this before sticking these pieces on, remember to do that. I also etched these, they're not ideal. If you can, use a stencil with your allspike. I don't happen to have one at the moment, and I'm just not going to shell out one right at this instant in time. If you do have stencil, you can just simply etch these. I just drew these freehand and then got a ruler and etched them so that I used the etching process to clean them up. So sort of where you have one line, two lines on the vertical, I made sure that they lined up and did them at the same time, that kind of thing, just to keep everything fairly even. And these doors are literally push fit. They just come out and they go back in again. This is why you should cut your pieces out carefully as well, because at times like this you get to reuse them in a way which is kind of handy. So they're push fit, they remove, they've got a bit of etching on the flip side as well, just because otherwise I just don't want them to look like trash, you know. And this just means that when the lift's on this floor, you remove that, you put the lift there. When the lift changes floor, you put that back in. Now I had thought about making just 3 so that they could always be changing between the lift, but then I just decided, because these only really fit the slot they come from, just to use them for the slot that they are from and etch them accordingly. So onto the build. I will get these 3 up and assembled, or I'll show you the stages of how I'm assembling this, because they'll probably all 3 be up before they're all fully glued in place, and I just want to show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to do the first stage of sticking this lot together, and I will get back to you in a second when it is ready for you to see. So here you go, first 2 walls, I've just glued them along the bottom edge. Now the thing that you can't see and is not obvious, if I can just get in here and give you a... See this? This is a beveled edge. So when I'm putting them in, the most important thing is that the leading corner of this has got into the back edge. So that if you're looking down here, you see that in right at the bottom here, everything's flush. Same on the other side here. Just move this out of the way, everything's flush right down to the bottom edge. And that's really important, because this beveled edge runs all the way up to the top floor of the roof. So all of this needed to be carefully cut. I just did this freehand, marking 3mm in. So this back edge is 3mm in, and then using the leading edge. So I'm using my cutting mat as the stop for this leading edge, and then I'm using the 3mm line here, and I'm just following it with a sharp scalpel blade. Pallet's remarkably easy to cut, and if you have a steady hand and follow the line, it works quite well. There are ways that you can do this with, there are sort of blades which you can get which cut angles for you, but beveling's kind of a pain, and so this is probably one of the harder parts of the process in terms of cutting stuff out. So next thing will be just securing those edges and putting on the edge that goes on this side. I'll catch you in a second. So after some faffing around and some careful alignment, I'm now ready to glue this first edge. So it'll just be this edge here. I'm just making sure that all the mezzanine is all flush at the back edge here, so in the stairwell, and all flush along this edge, and then I'm just going to make sure that that edge is glued flush. So this is a careful precision gluing job, don't rush it, don't take your time, and you might just be able to see I dropped it and it warped a little bit and then it started to tear, but I've had to super glue this point here back together. It's fine, don't worry about it. But onwards and gluingwards, and I need to just get this assembled carefully. And now the main thing to do now is to not get glue on the mezzanine floor, because I don't want that to stick in place. So here's the next piece in place. Again, I've just glued the bottom edge. This is because everything else will need to be lined up as I go along. I don't want to try and do it all as I want to. Also, when I've aligned it, I've made sure the mezzanine is in place so that all floors and everything are being aligned in accordance with the mezzanine being in place. And now I'm just going to spot glue. So I'm going to put like a little dab on the top corner of these, and I'm going to line these up individually with the mezzanine in place, because I don't want to stick that to the mezzanine. So most importantly is don't use too much glue on this point here. But it's coming along fine, I think. The alignment went okay. And as you glue these together, it's like I said earlier, you know, I broke this. This is because at the time it was just like a single sheet and it was flexing and everything. The more you glue together, the stronger the structure becomes, the less likely it is to become damaged. And at the moment I can still take the mezzanine out, and this is really important because, like I say, I need to do some painting before I carry on with assembling. So onwards and gluewards, and I shall get back to you in a mo with this tower fully glued together. The other thing to just take note of is I will glue it with the mezzanine in. I will glue the left side first because this is the harder one to align, and I will then glue the right one because that's going to be just a simple one piece glue job, and I'll probably do that by just running some glue down the mark line that I have etched here and letting the glue just run down that line, and then I can just press it against the end, holding it in the correct alignment with the mezzanine floor in place. So yeah, wish me luck, and I shall be back momentarily. There you have it then, that's the stairwell and lift shaft complete. I've got the doors in on the right hand side there, so you can see. Next step is going to be putting in all of the landings for the stairwell itself, rather than the bits of landing which are part of floors. So I'm going to get all of them fitted, and then I will fit the stairs to the landings rather than trying to build stairwells so that they all can be just slotted in easy peasy, because life just doesn't work like that. It's far too easy. It's always the hard option, which is the one that you have to use. So I'm going to get all of them slotted in, and I'll get back to you in a mo. Here's all the stairwell landings in place then. I've just got to fit 2 more of them, which go on the near side to me. These go in between the first and second floors because it's a double story floor. The only thing I do have to do is I have to cut out a banister to fit across this gap. So I'm just going to mark that up, get that cut out, and I'll be back with you in a mo. The only problem with that is it might get in the way. But we shall see, shall we? So yeah, catch you in a second. Here then is all of them in, and I've put in all of the floors just so you can see how that they mesh with the floors, so you can see that all the platforms are actually in the correct places. As you can see, the banister at the back there looks over the mezzanine floor, and as we come higher it comes all the way up onto the rooftop, so each of the floors makes sense, and like the linking points make sense. Let's give you a rotate round, show you from this angle as well. So as you can see from the mezzanine, you've got that balcony, so you can be fighting between floors, between stories even. I think it's versatile enough that, you know, you could drop in somebody on the roof because it's a pretty big roof area and you've got a pretty decent target to hit. So somebody who's got what was it? Drop troop. I can't remember the correct ability, but you know what I mean. Someone who can drop down from is it aerial drop? I think it's aerial drop. Parachute in or jet down on a jetpack, and then they can make their way down the stairwell, and they can be fighting from as high up as here into the mezzanine, get down onto that banister, and then be looking down into the basement room, which would be the objective room if you're using it as an objective room in that particular game. So it gives you some interesting fight through building type effects and scenarios so that you can interact with everything in a completely different way. Also, if you are concerned with this being the objective room that there's look-in points here, you could just say it's bulletproof glass that you can't shoot through, or is opaque glass which you can't shoot through, so it prevents line of sight, etc, etc, if you're concerned about that with your games. Alternatively, you could put something in which actually barricades off the rest of the objective room from the stairwell. So next up, I've just got to put in all of the stairs, which is probably going to take forever. So onwards, stairwards, and it's coming together, as you can see. Here's all my stairs then. I've already put the it's not a riser really, but it's the spacer so that each step can be stacked, and they're pre-spaced. I also have a few spare risers. I'm calling them risers just because it's the rise for the step, and I also have one which I've put a riser on the bottom, and this will be the ground floor first step. So everything, as you can see, is prefabricated as much as I possibly can, but next step's kind of a fitting job. I'll work out the spacings for each separate flight because there's going to be a bit of variation between them, and it's better to not have sort of a standard thing. Also, all of my landings aren't exactly 100% square, so that has to be taken into account. So that's what I'll be doing for the next who knows. So I will see you when stairs are done. Just before I start assembling the steps then, what I've also done is I've just marked all the lines onto the bottom of these so that I have a place for where to connect the step to. And the way I've done it is I've taken the step which already has the bottom riser on it, and then I've placed that over the top so that I can then use that edge as the line for that line. So now I'm just about to start the actual job. I'll catch you in a mo. There you have it then. All of the stairs are in the stairwell, and yes, some of them do terminate in space, but that's because that will be the landing from one of the floors, which is built into the floor, not into this section. So now what I have to do is run all the banisters all the way up. This is probably even more of a pain than putting in the stairs, just because each banister kind of has to be custom fitted. And in the case of this particular build, there will be sort of ghost walls, as in the walls which run along the floor level, but I'll build into the sequence of walls and banisters going up here rather than onto the walls or onto the floors. So it'll all have to be aligned carefully, and blah nightmare, yay. But it'll be fine. So I'll catch you when I've got that done. See you in a moment. Here's all of the banisters put in then. Stairwells are a bit of a nightmare. Everything is a slightly roughshod. Nothing's really perfect or immaculate. Coming to expect this now. Still think I've done a reasonably good job. I'd like to think I've done a reasonably good job. You can decide for me though. You can just see. And I've got the floors in space so that you can see the where it meets up, but just so you can see, if I pop this out, I've got the banister in place so it all fits flush with the flooring. And I'll just whip these floors out and I'll show you the banister in place without the floor. So there you have it, that's the floors all removed. You can see the stairwells have got the banisters all put in even on the bits so the floor will come flush with this. I did fit it by having the floors, putting the floors in whilst sticking the sort of banister pieces in place just to make sure everything was flush and correct. So yeah, hope it's been of use to you. You've found it interesting, and I hope you're enjoying your own model making. So cheers everybody, have a good one, take care. Bye bye.